All right, comrades, we're here. We're finally back. It's we're 6-7 games in at this point. I think we're 6. No, 7. We're 7 games in the Shining series out of like 22 fucking games. So not even quite halfway there yet. But we're back at the beginning. Shining in the Darkness, if I recall correctly, and I'm not going to look this up because I don't give a fuck, is the first Shining game made. And it's a first-person dungeon crawler, like wizardry style game. I remember enjoying it, so I'm playing it again. Now, you kind of a gist of it is you wander around these first-person dungeons, and you run into random monsters. It's very colorful. It's very pretty. It's very like Shining game kind of series, like the Shining Force games. So good sprites, smooth combat, very simple. Right, you have like your main character is Dragon Warrior hero. It's I would say it's a lot like Dragon Warrior 2 or Dragon Quest 2, in that your main character is just a warrior. I don't think he ever gets spells, and then you get like your warrior mage, which is like casts like healing magic, if I remember correctly. We'll get there when we get there. This is like my preamble to the whole thing, and then you get like a mage character, and that's it. You just get the 3. So if I remember correctly, it's very much in the vein of Dragon Quest 2 in that regard. And the story goes, we'll get to that in a second. So, you attack, you cast spells. Oh my goodness. You buy weapons, you upgrade, you grind it out, you run through like these mazes, first-person maze, which I always get disoriented, so I definitely have like maps to look at when I'm going through this thing, and I still kind of get disoriented. And it's fun. The gist of the story, so the intro of the story is that you're a knight in this kingdom, Thornwood. I think it's a translation here. I don't think that's the original Japanese translation, but I've never played a version of this, including this one I'm playing now, that uses a different term. So Thornwood, you're a knight in the kingdom, and it's another one of these, like, your father was a great hero, and he's disappeared. And he disappeared along with the princess. So the princess is missing. So you get called forth to the king's chamber, and, there's Tristan, who's, like, the captain of the guard. He's a cool bro. Then there's, like, Baron Visek. And if I remember correctly, I won't spoil it. He doesn't like you as much. He's kind of an asshole. Then there's like the council member, like the chamberlain or whatever. He's generally nice. He kind of looks like priestly. And then there's no. I think there's a priest. And then there's like the counselor, like the chamberlain. And then there's the king. And those, when you go to the castle, like whenever you go to the castle, you get like this, you get a screen with all these guys, and you click like left and right to choose which one you want to talk to, and that's how you talk to people in this game. The other place you can really talk to people is the tavern. So then when you go to the town, there's like the weapon shop, the mystery shop, the tavern, the armor shop, the item shop, and the shrine, which is where the church is. And so the church saves, it cures you from like ailments and stuff. The armor shop sells armor, the item shop sells items. Occasionally after you buy something, they'll offer you a deal, and the deals are always like absurd. So for example, I bought you start the game, so you talk to the king, they're like, hey, the princess has gone missing, and your father was the last one with him, so we know you want to go find your father, so while you're at it, just go find the princess as well. And then, there's some jibber jabber about your qualifications and motivation and stuff, and the king's like, shut the fuck up, everybody. And so he gives you 200 gold pieces, so you go, and I always buy the best weapon possible, because I feel like that gets you the most bang for your buck. So I buy the short sword, because I think you start with like the bronze knife, and then I sell that shit. We'll get the armor later. So we get that, and then we go to the tavern, and the tavern's, again, full of a bunch of chuckleheads, like dudes making fun of your dad, like fuck those guys. There's like a drunk turtle, and a guy being like, excuse my drunk friend, and the drunk turtle's talking about like a monster or something. Then we get like the Baron's minions, which are these 2 random people, like these elf-looking dudes. The barkeep, or the tavern keeper, and his wife are like very poetious and fun to talk to. And yeah, that's like the crew. Then there's like a dwarf running the armor. Oh no, there's a blonde woman running the item shop. There's like a redheaded woman running the armor shop, I think, and then the dwarf guy running the weapon shop. Anyway, so I buy the sword, and then the king's like, go to the town and then come back. And you can literally just go to the town and come back. But I went and bought the sword, sold my bronze knife, and then I wander back in. And then when you get there, and they're like, all right, last time we saw the princess was by the labyrinth, so you should skedaddle and go check that out. And then the whole world like shakes. It's like dun dun dun. And it's like, oh fuck, what's happening? And it's Dark Soul. That motherfucker's back. Fuck that guy. Wow, it's been a minute, right? Where has he been hiding out? That dumb motherfucker. I'm gonna kick his ass. And so he says, I have the princess, and I will give you the princess if you make me king of the kingdom, if you put me in charge. You can decide later, though. I'll come back. and then he leaves. And they're like, oh, fuck Dark Soul, fuck that. And then the Baron guy's like, we gotta send the whole army, or we gotta do something. I don't trust this guy. And then Tristan's like, I trust him, and you should trust him too, because I know more about war and shit than you do. And the guy Baron's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And they're like, all right, go to the labyrinth and figure it out. And so we do. We head to the labyrinth. So we go ahead and work our way through the labyrinth all by our lonesome, just killing slimes, fucking slugs. Monsters amp up a little bit. Mostly I'm just grinding, getting better gear, all that stuff. I ran into old Kaiser Crab. That guy fucking killed me in like one hit. And so grind out some more. And eventually I go in there and I beat the living shit out of him. I'm like level 9 at this point. And cool. So the Kaiser Crab drops a Royal Tiara. Oh no! It must be the princess's. So we head back to the castle. The king's like, oh, I knew the princess was in the labyrinth. You must save her. Oh no! And then we hear about the trials, and we hear that there's like a quote-unquote proper labyrinth. So I haven't entered the proper labyrinth yet, unfortunately for me. But that's good. Good news, I guess. So to enter the proper labyrinth, we have to be allowed to go into the proper labyrinth by the ancients, which I guess all these monsters in Dark Soul were allowed to go in there for some fucking reason. But yeah, there it is. So to do that, we have to pass the 4 trials: the trial of strength, courage, wisdom, and intelligence, maybe. Yeah, that's probably what it is. I know strength and courage are the first 2. So to do that, we have to get the dwarf key, but they won't give us the dwarf key. Oh, and there's a new guy in the throne room. He's some smarty pants, I guess. He talks a lot about the labyrinths. He's the one who talks about the different levels and the proper labyrinth, or the different trials and whatnot. All this stuff is within the same. So there's like an overworld map. It has the castle, the town, and the labyrinth. That is it. There's no other place to go. So everything's in the labyrinth, even these trials. But before they will give us the dwarf key. I can't remember who it was, one of these jokers. Before they give us the dwarf key, we head into town, or we're sent to get a group together because we can't just solo this anymore. Which we probably could if the game would let us, because the most amount of enemies that pop up thus far are like 3 or 4. And then instantaneously, as soon as I walk back in there with my other 2 party members, because this is a 3-party game, or 3-party team game, the monsters, even at the very beginning of the dungeon, are like drastically, there's more of them. So, okay. Anyway, artificial difficulty and such and such and such. No, it's good because we need more experience points because we have more guys. We need to get them strapped up. So we head into the tavern, and in the tavern we find the old tavern master arguing with Pyra. Pyra's an elven, I think she's an elf. I don't think it ever comes up, but she looks like an elf. An elven mage who's super good at magic and stuff, and they're arguing back and forth, and she's like, oh good, comrade, I was looking for you. Let's join up and go. And you're like, all right, cool. So we head out, and she bumps into Gilla, who's like a lizard man warrior or whatever, and they argue because she's like, you got in my way, and he's like, you got in my way, and she's like, I'm going to get you, and he's like, whatever. I'm a mercenary. I don't know why he gives us this information. He just like shouts it out to the heavens. I'm a mercenary who was hired to rescue the princess, so I'm headed to the labyrinth. And then as he's going, Pyra casts slow on him, like a real asshole that she is. And then she mentions we need to find Milo. So Milo, he's a healer, dwarf, fighter guy, and he's in the church. So we go to the church, and we save our game, and all that stuff. And then the priest is like, hey, don't forget to take this guy with you. He could really use your help, or he can really help you out. He's a good priest and stuff. And we're like, cool. I don't think Milo actually says anything, if I recall. And Pyra doesn't speak after her like initial encounter either. But now we got our full party. Sweet. So we head back over to Lake Cassel, and we get the dwarf key, and then it's like to the labyrinth we go. And once we're in the labyrinth, it's time to grind. So we grind everybody up to level 8, except Comrade, who's now level like 10 or 11 at this point. And then we finally head down to the Trial of Strength. Now the first initial layer here of the labyrinth is like a stunning yellow brick sort of thing, or like stone. When we get down to the Trial of Strength, it's like a wooden dungeon. So it's all like wooden walls and stuff, and has like plants growing out of it and stuff, which is interesting. There's not much here. You just kind of we wander around. We start to get, they're not mimics. They're called like treasure breakers or chest breakers or something. They're these like, what are those things from Neo? They're like the little turtle demon yokai from Japanese mythology, and they like crawl out of the treasure chest when we try to open it, and then they fight, and they're pretty tough. And there was even like every now and then there's like these weird little puddles just like sitting around, and so far they've done nothing. But in one of the puddles in this entire like trial, there was like a happy water sprite that pops out and then died like almost instantly. But he gave me like a lot of fucking golden experience, so I was sad that didn't happen more often. Somewhere in our travels down here in the dungeon, we run into Gilla. Oh, good job, Pyra. You almost killed this motherfucker with your stupid fucking slow spell, you dumb bitch. No, she's great, actually. She has like all the spells. It's pretty fantastic. Which includes slow, which is very good against those treasure breaker monsters because they hit like twice, like a bunch of assholes. And at this point, we're running into Kaiser crabs, like regular enemies. They'll just like saunter on out because most bad guys, it'll be like, oh, now you're in combat. They pop in as you're moving around or turning. The Kaiser crabs, like they saunter in from like a side passage, like a crab. You know, they crab walk over because they're crabs. Anyway, so we get Gilla. He's like, oh, please, I'm stuck. I don't know if I can get out of here. I'm pretty injured. You want to help me or not? And you can say, no, I don't know why the fuck you do that, unless you're a total asshole. So, of course, I said yes. And you're like a simp for Pyra, and you want her to continue to get her revenge, which is the death of this guy for bumping into her by accident. Crazy. So we rescue him, and I kept waiting for him to do something. Granted, I'm playing this game on like 3 times frame skip. Excuse me, I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. But you know, we rescue him, whatever, I don't care. This dungeon gets like, we're getting up to like level 13, 11s and stuff by the time we get out of here. And at the end of this like long dungeon, we find, or this long map, we find there's like one of those red walls. I've seen these before. There was like a red wall in the first labyrinth after the Kaiser crab that did nothing. But here, the red wall, we walk into it and it transforms into like this angel mural statue thingy. And the angel thing is like, congratulations, you have passed the trial of strength. And then it teleports us back out of the trial of strength, back to like the ladder that led down here in the first place. Only this time, we see a wall like fade away. So it's like, aha, that must be where the trial of courage is. I'm not worried about that for now, though, because we're headed back to town to heal up. Because at this point, I think like my main character, Comrade, has like 8 hit points left out of his total of like over 100. And the other characters aren't too hot either, and no one's got magic left. So I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and sneak on out of here before I die. There was a couple chests in the trial of strength that I couldn't get to. One was behind like a locked, like a prison bar lock, and then one was like on the other side of like a hole that fell out. Oh yeah, there's a lower level here. I went down there at some point, picked something up, but it's kind of stupid. I'm looking at the monster designs here. They're very interesting. I know we already got like color swaps, palette swaps, but they're designed very well. The sprite work is very excellent, and I enjoy it thoroughly. Okay, so once we head back, we go to the tavern, obviously, to heal, and then normally after we go to the tavern, we just get like the old man being like, all right, cool, thanks for coming, get the fuck out. This time, after he told us to get the fuck out, Gilla's like, hey man, I'm pretty injured, I'm just gonna stay here. Also, by the way, I wasn't really here to get the princess. There's an orb of truth hidden in the labyrinth of or the trial of courage. That's what I really want. And in my head, I'm like, oh, orb of truth, what does that do? And he's like, it reveals the truth. Of course it does. But it makes people appear, it makes things appear as they truly are. Yep, so that'll be important to get once we finally head down there. Alright, so we push our way through the Trial of Courage. There's nothing really that big of a deal. At some point, this large ball rolls down a hallway. And I gotta say, these are like peak Sega Genesis graphics. Like, I'm surprised at all the animations and the fun little cuts and like everything they get going at this system. Now, the Sega Genesis is pretty powerful. It's no Super Nintendo, from my understanding, until they added like the Sega Disk Drive and all that other stuff later on. But I'm still impressed with like what they did, because some of these, like, yeah, I don't remember ever seeing animations like this. And like the great cartoony stuff. Like everything in this game like super holds up. Like it's a little grindy, but if you're playing these kind of games, these like dungeon crawler games, like you're not gonna be like shocked and stunned. But like, yeah, the art style really holds up. And they get a lot out of this system, I gotta say. Anyway, so this ball rolls by, and you go and fight this turtle guy, and you get the Orb of Truth. Hey, it's the Orb of Truth. That's the one that Gel or whatever was looking for. So good. At the end of the Trial of Courage, we're again teleported out, get new equipment, stack up on items, all that good stuff, heal up, make sure we're good to go. Next is the Cave of Truth, where we wander around for a bit, and eventually we find Dai. Who is Dai? Dai is one of those, it's like a demi-human, I want to say, is the best term that people are familiar with. It's one of these people in the Shining games that, like, they're not human, but they're not like an elf or a dwarf either. They're kind of like, I want to say like a gnoll is probably the closest thing, because they're kind of like canine-y looking, generally. Anyway, so him and his sister and, like, old man, they're, like, around, right? But he came down here, and he got trapped. And so... oh wait, no, that's in the Cave of Wisdom. So the Cave of Truth, sorry. Eventually we get to a point where we find Princess Jessa, and Jessa's behind cage, and she's like, "Oh, you gotta help me, please, please, please." And so then we find the false idol in this cavern as well, and then we place it in this little nook, and then we hear like, "Cha-ching, haha, suckers!" And we go back, and we see Jessa literally like slide out of the side of the tunnel, and then transform into like this monster, and called a Doppler, so it's like a changeling, right? It changed into be her to pretend to be her. Anyway, so we kick his shit in, and that's the Cave of Truth. Back to town, equipment up. Now the Cave of Wisdom. Cave of Wisdom is a lot of trapdoors, and that's why Dai got stuck here. All right, so now we find Dai. He joins the party. He is, unlike the lizard man guy, he sucks ass. Like, again, he'll join like in the form that like he hits every once in a while when he fucking feels like it, but when he hits, he does like 9 points of damage or something, and my hero is hitting for like 100 points of damage at this juncture already, and so it's like, like, you hit like a bitch. Anyway, I power through the cave. Eventually Pyra goes down, but we find some mithril and a dark block, pass the trial, and then fly back, resurrect Pyra. We drop Dai off. He's reunited with his sister. She's very appreciative, and they decide they're going to head back to their homeland and get out of this silly place, which they don't. They stick around the rest of the game so you can chit-chat with them and have their opinions, including the old man they're like hanging out with. We head back to the castle at this point, now that we've passed all the trials, and the historian guy's gone. I wonder where he went. He ran out for something. Everyone is super happy that we passed the trials. We head to the town, and the trader is open finally. The trader is the guy that you can use mithril and dark blocks and other items to craft, and he also has better items. So like, there's only the one weapons and armor shop, and they never get upgraded. But the trader sells both, and items, and he sells like the better stuff. So we can finally do that. So we make some mithril stuff. We make like a mithril shield for Pyra at this point. Also, when we head to the tavern, we meet Pyra's mom and Milo's dad. And Pyra's mom picks her up and starts spanking her for running off immediately. Like, what is happening? Anyway, I vouch for them both. And then their parents are like, all right, you can keep working and trying to find the princess as long as you're with this like manly knight. And then Pyra's mom like gives us like a wink and a slap on the booty. So I guess if we wanted to tap that MILF, we could. That hot MILF, that hot elf MILF. Goodness. And then she also makes while she's flirting with the hero, she mentions that all the people in this town, all the guards, are bitches. That's not the word she uses, but she's like, why are you children the only ones in this whole town, including this young man I want to fuck, that are man enough to have this nut sack to go fight Darksaw. These guys are all bitches, which is based. And anyway, Milo's dad is he's way chill. He's chill as fuck. He's like smoking his fucking pipe, being like, cool story, bro. Anyway, now it's time to hit that proper labyrinth in style. So we work our way through level 2. There's some sentinels who are kind of assholes, and we also find a gold well, which is how we fast travel in this game. And it's, I don't know, it is what it is. I can't say it's good or bad. We can't use it yet. We actually have to, I walk up to level 3 just to be like, I did it, game, register that shit. So then we fly our asses out of there, headed back to the king. He introduces us to Zern, who is the master of the historian guy, and he's like, hey, in case you haven't figured it out yet, that historian guy who ran off, he's actually Dark Soul. What he did is he wandered into the labyrinth, and the labyrinth was the seat. It was like a ceiling place for the Great Darkness, right? Because chronologically, we have now defeated Dark Soul 2 or 3 times. And so this, whatever reason, they trapped his soul in this labyrinth, and then however many hundreds of years went by or whatever. Anyway, so this guy heard about it because he's like a historian and studying under Zern. He went to get it, got possessed by like the power of Dark Soul, but the labyrinth also contains the means to destroy Dark Soul by creating the Shining Knight who passes through the trials and then gets the light armor, and then can transform into the Shining Knight. So this apprentice guy, he wants to release the darkness. One of these guys gives us a medallion. The medallion lets us throw one piece of medallion into only a gold well, and then we can use any other well, which there's a lot of random wells in random places that I don't know why. It's like, what a pointless thing. I guess it's there. Like, why would I go all the way back to the Cave of Wisdom, or the Trial of Wisdom, and then teleport up to like the 3rd level? Like, it makes no sense. Anyway. But that's nice, because then, and there's not like a well on the first floor. There's like one well on the first floor, and it is a walk to get to, which kind of sucks. And the game has a spell which lets you, it's called Peace, that lets you avoid low-level battles, but it costs 7 MP. And even when I was like beating the game at level like 50, I think Pyra's MP was like 250. So yeah, and you got to cast this spell like 3 or 4 times. So like you're using up like 30 mana of that. So it's kind of like, just fight these low-level enemies. It's not worth it, especially when you just frame skip, right? So you're just playing on fast speed. So it's like whatever. But it was kind of annoying. But you got to do it because there's no way you want to like work your way through all those labyrinths. Even at the level when you're ready to fight Dark Soul, you're just kicking the shit out of everything, even things on the final level. Anyway, so we head to town to recover, and then we run into the apprentice in the tavern, and he's like, "Behold, I am Dark Soul. You must join me." And we're like, "Oh, fuck yourself." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so angry. I'll release the darkness and destroy you. But right now, I'm not going to do shit because this is just a hologram or something. All right, adios." Like, all right, asshole, fuck you. So then we head back to the labyrinth, and near the end of the 3rd floor, we find the skeleton boss, Backbone or something, and this motherfucker destroyed me. Like, of course I'm using save states. So I save state right before I hit him, and then I fought him like 3 or 4 times, and I was doing like, I feel like I did like 1,000 damage, and he still wasn't dying. I was like, the fuck? And then one time I go in there, when at like round 3 or 4, or chance 3 or 4 on this dude. I think it was 4 or 5 actually. I go in there, and he like kills Pyra in one hit, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then like Milo like crits and does like 100 damage, and then the hero crits for like 200 damage, and the thing dies. And I was like, the fuck? I battled this guy for like 12 rounds one time, and he didn't go the fuck down. Like, are you kidding me? Whatever, he's dead. Fuck that guy. I don't know what was going on with this game. So we dropped we dropped the medallion, so now we're right in front of the 4th floor. We head to the 4th floor, fly back, upgrade equipment, craft more shit, go talk to the king again. And who shows up? Dark Soul shows up. He taunts the king again, and then he attacks CERN with like Demon's Breath or something, and CERN like nopes out. He's like, fuck this, I'm out, bye. Then he turns and challenges us. He's like, I will fight you when you get to the 5th floor of the labyrinth, bye. And then, Jesus. And then he leaves. And then I talked to all the council members about Demon Breath and how powerful it is, and we need the Armor of Light, and even the Armor of Light might not be able to resist. It does, by the way, very well, because Demon Breath is kind of not very good skill in this game, which is great. And then, hey, guess what? I already found that Helmet of Light, so I just got to find the Sword of Light and 2 other pieces of armor. So great. All right, 2 more floors to go. Heading back. On the 4th floor, we finally find Jessa, and it's Jessa this time for real. She's at the end of the 4th floor, and she's like, "Oh, I'm trapped here. You must go fight Mordred, who is your father, he's been consumed by darkness, and he's a knight of Dark Soul." And so we go, and it's a pretty fucking epic battle, and he like loses his helmet halfway through, and we have like conversation during the battle. It's pretty awesome. And once he's about to die, he apologizes and thanks us for freeing him. So we throw the medallion for the 4th floor. Which is this? Yeah, this is the last time we moved that shit. So because it's right by the 5th floor, and 5th floor is the last floor. So we throw that shit in there. We grab the cell key, rescue the princess, take her back to town. Everyone in the tavern is super excited. They're chit-chatting. We head back to the castle. They're excited as well. We learn more about the Demon Breath. Nothing really important. It's just people like to talk that shit more about it. And then everyone's excited, and the princess gives us like a wink. So now we got the princess, and our harem's slowly building with Pyra's mom and the princess, who also wants our dick, subtly. But now we have the cell key, and there's a bunch of cell doors throughout all the levels of the game that have items that we want. Specifically, what we really want is the Shield of Light. I think we got the Sword of Light on the 4th floor as well at that point. Because then on the 5th floor is when we get the Armor of Light, I think. Anyway, so we run around for a while, get all the cell treasures, which is really just that light, and then some shitty weapons and armor that I sell because I don't need them because they have like full mithril armor. And then I got like a cursed whip for Pyra, which binds her up on occasion, but does so much damage to everybody that is the weapon she will end the game with. So we head in. Oh, no, the Sword of Light's on the 4th floor. So we get the Sword of Light, and we find a fairy spring. And once we decide to head back to town, we find out that the fairy spring will summon a fairy, but we need the tears of someone who cares for us and to summon the fairies. And so we get those tears from, not Pyra's mom, unfortunately, which would be hilarious, but from the princess, of course, you dumbasses. So we go to her. She feels bad because she loves us, and, you know, essentially she's the reason our dad died, sort of. Anyway, she feels really bad about it, and so she cries, and then one of the council members is like, oh, let me collect these tears for you. Yoink, here's a flask, good to go. We head back. Now that we have all the light stuff, I don't remember where I got the armor, somewhere. Anyway, we're all suited up. We summon the fairy. She's like, aha, you're ready to fight the darkness. Let me upgrade all your items for the hero because you have all the light stuff. So she does, and we are stronger, that is true. And then she heals us whenever we talk to her. So at this point, I just kind of like walk back and forth for a bit and get all my guys to level 50. And when I say get everyone to level 50, I really mean get everyone to level like 60, except for Milo, because for some reason he levels up much slower than everybody else, which I don't understand. Like I think when I went to Dark Soul, Milo was level 51, just because after you do the fairy thing, and I got to level 50, you have to like trek to get to Dark Soul, and I'm just like massacring dudes at this point. So he get into the level, but I think the hero is at like level 56. And then Pyra is level like 54 or 55. So it's like, why are you so far behind? It's not like you're dying and I'm like grinding out levels. Like, I think you died the least. Like, you should be the least far behind. Anyway, it's kind of dumb. All right, so Dark Soul. All right, so we get to the end of the dungeon and there's a door. We kick that shit in. We get a nice little fun backdrop area that looks like a lab or something. And Dark Soul's like, hey, what the fuck you doing here? I'm going to destroy you. You're like, bro, you summoned us here. You literally like, come fight me, bitch. And I was like, all right, I'm here. And he's like, oh, yeah. Let's do it. And then he goes down like a bitch. Like, he goes down so fast. Like, I was like, shit. Like, I was like, I was still casting like buffs when this motherfucker like cratered. I think he had like 1,000 hit points. But like Hero with his boosts and like when he crits for like 400 damage. Like, this guy, he went down so fucking fast. And then it's like he summons the darkness. He's like, oh, the darkness, why? You promised me I'd be victorious. And then he becomes like this monster with like snake arms and like a wolf face or lion face or something. And he starts casting demon breath a lot. And to be fair, the hero has like 400 hit points. Pyra and Milo have almost 300. And like the biggest attack he has will hit people for like 80 hit points. And then Milo has like 300 MP, and he has that spell that cures everyone to full for 50. So I can cast that thing like so many times. And this dude, I don't know, he has like a little bit more hit points than the first time. Maybe like 1,500 or 2,000. But again, my hero's smacking this dude for like 200 to 300 damage like per attack. And then Pyra, when she casts like full bolt, that's doing like another like, not 100, but like 70 damage. And then Milo's curing. So I'm doing like 300-400 damage per turn, right? So this guy goes down like super fucking fast. Like, I boost everybody up, and then I just kick the shit out of him too. So we head back. Everyone's super excited. Dark Soul's dead. All the stores, because I guess they don't need to make money anymore. Which I don't know the fuck where they were charging me for all this shit in the first place. Like, the trader just like nopes out. He's like, all right, no more money to be had here. I showed up because I heard there was money to be had, and because this one adventurer was like single-handedly keeping me afloat, and then he killed the boss, so there's no reason for me to be here anymore, so adios. And then all the other townspeople that are like residents here and own shops are like, all right, we're closed down forever. There's no reason to sell stuff anymore. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? You just had all this shit lying around, and then you're like, all right, all done. Okay. Anyway, it's pretty funny. And then we go in, and the princess is happy, and the king's happy, and we get declared as like a knight of the not a knight, the knight of the realm. We are the premier knight of the realm, and everyone loves us, and everyone's happy, and I can go get married to the princess and be the king and bang Pyra's mom as my mistress. And the world is that good, and it's peace. And that wraps up the first kind of like arc of the Shining series, which is like, I read somewhere someone called it like the Dark Gods or the Demon Gods or the Demon arc, because we're done with the demons now. I guess going forward it's all about the Vandals, which I don't remember that much about it from Shining Force 3, and I've never played Shining of the Holy Ark, but we'll find out more about it. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the game. The chronologically starts with Dark Soul, who's also in Phantasy Star, which is kind of funny, and then wraps up with Dark Soul. Now, if you're looking at from release dates, that's not how it went down, but it is kind of fun. And yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy this kind of game play, this kind of like first person dungeon crawl games. And this is a good job. It's got a lot of quirky, fun stuff. It doesn't like overstay its welcome. I think I maybe put like 7-8 hours into this game. So it's just fun, just cool. Kind of puzzly. But again, it's like you just kind of grind it out and have a good time, and laughs ensue. But yeah, highly recommended. Shining in the Darkness, if you like kind of old school games or just Sega games or this kind of game. If you played like, what was that newer one that came out, Grimlock or whatever, and you wanted something similar that was a little different, then highly recommended. Cool. So that's Shining in the Darkness, and next up is Shining of the Holy Ark, which is, yeah, that's what's next, which is another first-person dungeon crawl game, but on the Saturn. And it's a prequel, essentially, from my understanding, to the Shining Force 3 trilogy. Cool. So go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later.